America. Given the crisis in education in this country, Hunter College is more committed than ever to our historic role in training teachers. Let me introduce you to some special graduates following our founder into the noble profession of teaching. The child of Mexican immigrants who grew up in the poorest neighborhoods in the South Bronx, Galia Casiano is passionate about her role teaching English to new Americans at an international high school. She gets her master's today in teaching English as a second language so she can train other instructors in this critical skill. The daughter of immigrants from El Salvador, started her Hunter career at Manhattan Hunter Science High School, a school we started to get more underserved students to college. With a full scholarship, Roxana gets her bachelor's in teaching today and will go on to pay it forward in the prestigious Teach for America program, working with underprivileged kids. Vandenberg knows firsthand the incredible impact a teacher can have. Forced to repeat first grade and already feeling like a failure at age 6, Dominic fell behind. When his father died in 2009, Dominic's weight ballooned and a high school teacher mocked his appearance. Dominic dropped out of school, but 3 years later, he willed himself to lose 80 pounds, get his GED, and enrolled at Borough Manhattan Community College. There, everything changed when he took a Western civilization class taught by Professor Gerald Clark. Dominic says, Professor Clark was the first instructor who pushed me to my limits. Thrilled by the ancient world, Dominic went on to become a classic scholar, winning both the prestigious Bloom Scholarship and the Excelsior Prize for Introductory Ancient Greek. Now he graduates with a 3.96 in Latin and Greek, and will return to Hunter to get his master's in teaching Latin. Dominic's goal is to become the same champion for students that Professor Clark was for him. But first, there's someone he would probably like to thank in person. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank the wonderful Professor Gerald Clark. Congratulations to all our education students. We have the pleasure today of being joined by a very special guest, a friend to Hunter in New York and in Washington, the tireless Senate Minority Leader, Charles Schumer. Schumer truly represents us and is always championing the CUNY system. Time prohibits us from listing the Senator's hundreds of initiatives and accomplishments. However, today we want to say a special thank you to Senator Schumer for his national leadership in immigration reform, and especially for his vocal support for the DACA executive order, which has allowed so many Hunter students to work and study without fear. Doris's parents left Peru when she was a baby, and she did not see them again until she came to America at 11. She dreamt of a career in medicine, but found it was impossible to even volunteer at a hospital without a Social Security number. Thanks to DACA, she now interns at Elmhurst Hospital and graduates with a 3.4 GPA and plans to be a medical scribe and apply to medical school. Congratulations, DACA. Is also thankful for DACA. Erwin held his mom's hand at age 3 as they crossed the border from Mexico. He struggled with school and was going to be like his older brother, a dropout. But one morning when he was in the guidance counselor's office being threatened with expulsion, Erwin looked at the tears in his mom's eyes and was determined to make all her sacrifices worth it. He stayed in school, worked to save money, and made his way to BMCC and then to Hunter, where he graduates with a GPA of 3.6 and plans to get his master's in counseling to help others the way his guidance counselor helped him. We walked Kang came from South Korea at age 9, knowing no English. Determined to fit in, she changed her name to Katie, became an honor student, and set records in track and field. She was heartbroken when her undocumented status prevented her from joining the U.S. Junior Olympic team. She excelled as a chemistry major at Hunter with a 3.8 GPA. She will do clinical research at Stanford Medical School before applying to the American medical schools that accept DACA students. And Raimi Echeverria's father left the Dominican Republic when she was born. She and her mom and her siblings were reunited with him in America when she was 8. She worked hard to repay her parents for their sacrifice. Not only is Raimi the first in her family to graduate from college, which she does today with a 3.8 GPA, she was the first to graduate high school. Raimi gives back for advocating for CUNY Dreamers and helps high school kids get into college. She will go on to get a PhD in education policy to continue to advocate for the underserved. Raimi are recipients of a very special scholarship because it is very unusual for there to be funds for our DACA students. It is the Grove Scholarship for undocumented students, one of the few funding sources for DACA, which was made possible for them and allowed them to attend Hunter. This amazing fund was a gift by Hunter trustee Robbie Spector and her family in honor of their mom, Eva Caston Grove, an immigrant who graduated from Hunter in 1958. Robbie, Raimi, and Katie, and all the other wonderful students you support, would like to present you with a small token of their deep gratitude for the way you have changed theirs and others' lives. Thank you, Robbie. Just a few years ago, these students were living in the shadows. DACA brought them into the light, and they have invested in their American future. And we have invested, at Hunter, have invested in them. Senator Schumer, in welcoming you, we thank you for your efforts to keep DACA alive so that students like these can achieve their American dreams in America. Let us welcome Senator Schumer and thank him for all he's done.
Thank you, President Raab, and let me just say, seeing these wonderful students, seeing what Hunter has done for them, and what America does for them, makes me redouble my efforts, not only for DACA students, but for all the undocumented. Immigrants make America great. Thank President Raab for the great job she does here at Hunter, all the faculty, the families and friends, but most of all, you, the class of Hunter 2017, congratulations. Now first I'd like to announce my class gift. As you know, it's hard to pay for college and graduate school. If you're poor, the federal government helps you out. That's a good thing. What about the middle class? So a few years ago, I wrote a law that said you or your parents, whoever paid for college or graduate school, can take as a full tax credit $2,500 off your federal taxes to help defray the cost of tuition, provided, in Washington there's always a provided your family income is below $200,000 a year. So, for those of you who come from families who make below $200,000, make sure you or mom or dad, whoever paid, takes that credit. Last year, about a quarter of all the people who were entitled didn't take the credit. But if you forgot, you can file a simple form with the IRS and get up to $7,500 back in the mail. Not bad. Now, what happens if you come from a family that makes above $200,000 a year? God bless you. A word to the moms and dads. I know how you feel. A few short years ago, my wife Iris and I sat where you did, watched our daughter Jessica get her diploma. It was one of the great days of our lives. And if you're like us, you think back to the difficult times. We Remember when Jess was 5 months old, she had 106.5 fever? We rushed her to the hospital, didn't think she'd make it. Praise God she did. We remember the first day of kindergarten. We put her on the bus, and as the bus pulled away, she ran to the back, peered out the back window, tears streaming down her little cheeks as she waved goodbye. But when Iris went to meet her at the bus at 2 p.m., she bounded off the bus happy as could be. She said, "Mommy, I came back." When we talked to her that night, we realized what was going on in her little brain. She thought that was it. New family, new parents, new house, new neighborhood. Then we remembered Jessie as a teenager where she didn't say much to us. And when she did, we didn't understand a word she said. And then moms and dads, you see your sons and daughters get that diploma and become an adult before your very eyes. Congratulations to the moms and dads. One final word of thanks. As we're here having a great time, there are young men and women in our armed forces, some of them in dangerous places, overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan. They're risking their lives for us. Let's have a round of applause for them. Now, for this great class of Hunter, one of the best schools, not just in New York, but in America, for this great class, you're graduating, as you know, at a time of enormous change across our country, around the world. It's an era of profound social change, profound economic change, profound technological change. The world is moving so fast. In the old days, you graduated from college, and the odds were very high that you'd have the same job or at least work in the same field for the next 40 years. That's not so true anymore. Many of you will have several jobs and even several careers. Along with these economic changes, the internet has put so much information at your fingertips, it's sometimes hard to figure out what's important and to distinguish between what's true and what isn't. And even around the world, there have been great changes. A generation ago, words like terrorism and suicide bombing were never heard. But the good news is this. Your generation is perhaps better equipped than any generation that's come before it to adapt to these changes, to overcome the obstacles they present, and seize the opportunities to pursue your passions and maybe even do big things, as so many Hunter graduates before you have done. But right now, though, sitting in your seats, you may not be exactly sure what's going to come next. With so much of the world changing, sometimes may feel understandably like you're jumping into an abyss. But the key, graduates, is not to fear the unknown. Embrace it, relish it, soak up every possibility it has to offer. Now, how do I know? Because I know those feelings. I had them myself when I was graduating from college. When I was seated at college graduation, I had just learned that I'd won a scholarship to travel all around the world, all expenses paid for a whole year. For me, it was the opportunity of a lifetime. I had never been out of the country before. But graduates, at the same time, I met a girl, and I fell in love. So I had to decide, do I go around the world for a whole year on the all-expense-paid scholarship, or do I stay home with the girl, my first true love? What would you have done, class of 2017? President Rapp, the class is divided. I stayed home with the girl. Don't forget, you romantics in the third row over there. The story continues. That summer, she went on a brief vacation, and I went to the airport to meet her on her return. As soon as she got off the plane, I saw by the look on her face, something was the matter. She dumped me by Labor Day. There I was, no scholarship, no trip around the world, no girl. I said to myself, what a loser you are. You're never going to make anything of yourself. Hang it up, forget it, give it up now. And in fact, I stayed in my house for several months, moped around, felt sorry for myself, but somehow I picked myself up, dusted myself off, and moved forward. And a few years later, I found myself seated at graduation once again, this time from law school. But on the way home from law school, I told Mom and Dad I was not going to join the fancy law firm like we had planned. I told them I loved politics. I told them my dream was to run for office. My parents, as you could imagine, were shocked. My mother was particularly disappointed. You see, I came from a working-class family. My dad was an exterminator, never went to college, never made much money. And the law firm was paying $400 a week, which in those days was more money than my family had ever seen. But my heart was in politics and to run for office. And so that fall, against very long odds, I ran for the New York State Assembly, and I had 3 opponents. There was the party machine candidate, there was a neighborhood activist, and then there was my mother, who was telling all her friends not to vote for me. So she said I get this dumb idea of being a politician out of my big thick head. Well, graduates, a few years earlier I didn't get the girl, but that November I won the election. The rest is history. So graduates, on this great day of your achievement, my advice to you is take the risk. Don't let fear of failure deter you, even though the world is so different and so changing. For those of us who have gotten older and look back, sometimes our greatest regret is the what-ifs. What if I had only done this? What if I had only